I actually haven't talked about it at all yet.
Well, I feel like there was a couple things that came out about your neck. Like, I don't know if you said something in an interview one time, but never like detail or about your brain cyst. So I think that's what really shocked people was the brain cyst. But I think people knew there was something with your neck. They just didn't know to the level of damage,
Right. So with all of you, we all get very intimate on the podcast, and Brie and I, this is like our girl and guy talk, right? Our happy hour. And so I want to go in detail with you with that whole situation. So Brie and I, we were going to come back and fight for the tag titles after WrestleMania. And we were going to go against the Iconics for a few months. It was going to be a lot of fun.
We were excited.
Really excited. And, in deep down inside, I kept having this weird feeling that I needed to get an x-ray on my neck. Because for a while I wasn't feeling okay. Brie knows that in December, after Evolution, I just kept telling her, like, Brie, I feel off. Like, my head doesn't feel right. Like, I just kept feeling off. And I even told her, I go, do you think I'm like just super unhealthy? Like, but I live a very healthy lifestyle, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Well, and also because we're so busy that we're exhausted a lot, that sometimes you kind of think, well, maybe I'm just tired of being in these planes and traveling and stress.
And it was the first time that I kind of just chilled. So I was thinking all these different things, right? But in my heart, I knew like something wasn't right. So I went to this detox spa in Palm Springs called the We Care Spa that I'm obsessed with, and detoxed mind, body, and soul for 3 days. I was feeling good after that for a bit. And then I just started not feeling good. So I got all my blood drawn, and I did realize like certain levels that were off that I had to fix. I even went to this one doctor who will look at you and put you on all these Chinese herbs. And that was incredible, but nothing was being permanent, right? Or like fixing me permanently.
Right.
So it was like I was the healthiest I've ever been in my whole life, but yet I still felt off.
Right.
So I called my surgeon and I said, hey, look, let's just...
But before, tell everyone, we had our gear. Oh. We had everything.
I mean, we were ready. I mean, Bella Twins were coming back in a big way. We are...
the Raw after... WrestleMania.
SmackDown
after WrestleMania. I mean, we had it all planned out. And we're in New York thinking it's still happening, you guys.
Yeah. So I called my surgeon a week and a half before, I think it was. Mm-hmm. It was a week and a half before WrestleMania. And I said, look, between you and I, like, I need to get an MRI done. I'm like, I just don't feel right not knowing what's going on with my neck if I go get in that ring. So can you just set me up somewhere in LA? Can I get an MRI? And he was like, definitely. And he goes, I just have this feeling like I want to get an MRI on your brain too. He goes, let's just see how, everything is looking. And I'm like, oh, like I didn't think twice about it, like it's your surgeon. He's been on this whole neck journey with me. He saved me. He created a miracle on my neck. So like I listen to Dr. Uribe. Uribe is the best. So, so I go and I get my MRIs done. And then literally the Thursday before WrestleMania, so I'm in New York doing my appearances with Brie, Dr. Uribe calls me and he goes, we need to talk. And you know what? It's crazy. When a doctor says it to you in a certain tone, like immediately you're like, okay, this isn't good. So he was just like, Nikki, I want you to know that why you're feeling how you do is you have so much inflammation around the metal in your neck. He goes, on top of that, you have herniated your disc above where you had surgery. He goes, it's fully herniated. And he goes, and on top of that, he goes, I found a cyst on your brain. He goes, now by looking at it, I don't think it's anything we need to worry about right now. He goes, I could tell it's benign. He goes, but we need to check on this every year.
Yeah, and you got to make sure you keep up with that,
Oh, I will. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah. And he kept telling me like, I don't want to freak you out, but you need to know these things. Right. And he said, Nikki, I didn't want you going back before because Dr. Uribe since day one has not wanted me to get back in the ring. And I went back once, got injured, went back again and didn't even talk to him when I went back for Evolution. I didn't even get x-rays. And so he goes, you're done. Like, I'm so sorry, but you get back in that ring. He goes, one hit, you're either paralyzed or your lights out for good. He's like, you can't mess with this anymore. And he goes, and you have a herniated disc. So I think we could get by not getting a double fusion. He goes, but once you get a double fusion, that's it, right? I mean, you're even working out's different for you.
Right.
So remember how upset I was?
So upset.
And then they wanted me to get a second opinion. And so the second opinion with that surgeon was like, she needs a double fusion right now, which I was like, no, I will be careful. I will stay away from the ring. And I remember that kind of like WrestleMania weekend, everyone's like, Nikki's so absent, and I think everyone, of course, starts to write their fake articles of like why I'm not around. They always relate it back to my breakup,
but some of it was true.
And it was hard being at WrestleMania around that and, the breakup. But the reason why I was so distant was because I just was so excited for this run. And we've wanted tag titles since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning. And we've actually always wanted to work the Iconics.
We've always wanted to work the Iconics.
We feel like
we were excited to work Sasha and Bailey.
Yeah, because we thought it would be such a great story, to tell like the Bellas versus the Iconics. Like we just thought that'd be really special.
Totally. And so I can't, everything, it was almost like when I found out the neck surgery the first time around when they said my career was over, it was like hearing that all over again. I felt like I got punched so hard in the stomach. Like I was just so upset because I'm like, literally this time now, like I'm being told, like I can't go say, I'm going to prove you wrong. There's no more proving anyone wrong. It doesn't matter. I can't ever get back in that ring.
Right. Well, and this is the thing that I'll say about you that, I think everyone can kind of learn from and help. It'll help you guys too, is that there's two ways you can take a situation like this. You could either be like, my life's over and be super depressed and think there's no more doors that are going to open. That's it. Life's done. Or you can be like, I'll say like you were super upset and it still at times really upsets you, but you looked at the positive. You're like, you know what? Like that chapter is now fully done. Like, look at my career. I had an amazing career. I've done some great things in my career. I've met amazing people. Like you've done it.
Yeah.
And now you get to look at like all the other doors that will open. And my husband, Daniel Bryan, when he went through this, he couldn't see any other doors opening. Like it was too hard. And he finally then found like a positive light and he was like, okay, I can be GM. There is something I can do. But I have to say, it's very easy to fall into depression in these situations. It's very easy to think everything's done. But Nicole, I'll say like the one thing I love is you've taken it into a positive and you kept going with your head up. And even though I know it was so hard for you to continue on at your appearances at WrestleMania, because I'll tell you guys, the Bella Army and all of you fans out there, like you guys make us all want to be in that ring more. You want us always to come back. It like gives me goosebumps saying this because you guys give us so much passion for the business and drive that it's like we just always want to be there to entertain you.
Well, and I think that was so hard was then we had fan access the next day, you and I, and Bella Army came in strong. It was amazing. And they had no idea. Like I was so emotional inside because I just found out the day before, like all that news. And then I'm seeing just the most incredible fandom in the world, like our Bella Army, who's family to us.
Right.
And I just thought in my head, I can't even give them what I want to give them in that ring anymore. But you're right. And so many doors have opened. I've been lucky. But, if I could just bring up one thing, for some of you that don't know, in the wrestling industry, there's a section of fans that they'll call the smart marks, which means like they're smart to know the wrestling industry. I guess what they call behind the scenes. It's kind of a weird word, I've always thought. But it's sad because I feel like they've never had me come in and actually do a retirement speech because you guys, it's crazy. Brie and I have all become, it's been so strange to me, but we became hated by the smart marks. And I always looked at it as like, well, we did a really good job as heels for so long. But it was like the more successful we'd get with the reality shows and the men then we were dating and married to and all that, we became more and more hated.
It was crazy.
For people to go against us in the ring and on the mic, it's very easy to create promos with Brie and I or about us. Yeah. And I look at, Paige and Brian and Edge, and the list goes on of all these people that got to have that moment. And look, it's actually going to make me emotional.
That's okay. You can get emotional.
It's going to make me cry because, I love wrestling. I gave 13 years of my life. I beat my body up. I mean, it was my world.
I know.
And it's so sad sometimes when I see the lack of respect or like not the appreciation. Like, how badly I wish I could go out there and wrestle again and do it for the fans and do it for us. And like, I have risked my life and I will never get, and you know what? I'm a human being. Sometimes we like to be acknowledged or appreciated. And the fact that I gave so much and I will never get to stand in that ring and have the thank you, Nikki Chan, or have just even give my last final words. Like that's it. I found out Thursday before WrestleMania and I'm done. Right. That's it. And then people want to blame me like, oh, look at her go do all those things. She doesn't care. I do care, but my life has to go on. I have to go look at all those open doors and run right through them like Wonder Woman and take them on. And it's just like, I pray one day, Brie, we will be appreciated by that crowd.
I don't need to be appreciated by them. And I'm going to tell you this. This is why. They're a small part of the huge WWE universe.
100% I agree.
And like this is like what we were saying, in last week's episode, is how the trolls sometimes, their voices can be louder than everyone else's.
Yeah.
And they're a small part, you guys. It's like when we say the 5% of our flaws speak louder than the 95% of the perfections of us. And Nicole, don't let that 5% speak louder, because there's 95% of the people out there who do say thank you, Nikki, constantly, who love you, who recognize and respect everything you have done for the wrestling business. And that's all you need. You don't need the 5%.
And I do. I get the best conversations, not only with the Bella Army, but with, people in business that have said the greatest things to me, and it makes me feel loved. And I just think it's when you're injured in my way. It's like, I can't ever go prove myself again. Evolution against Ronda, that was it. And sometimes I wish I walked into that match even more so knowing, like, if I would have known that was the last night I was ever going to fight, I don't know, maybe I do things different. Maybe I would have just taken those last final moments.